evil. Satan replied to the Lord, "Yes, Job's fears God, but without good reason. You have always protected him and his home and his property from harm. You have made him prosperous in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. All right, you may test him," the Lord said to Satan. "Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically." So Satan left the Lord's presence. Verse 21, it says, "He said, I came from my mother's womb naked, and I will be stripped from everything when I die. The Lord gave me everything I have, and the Lord has taken it all away. But still, praise the name of the Lord." Look at your neighbor and say, "Put the devil on pause and play your praise." As we read the book of Job, we have information that the character of the story does not have. We see the main character, who is Job, lost everything he had through something that was no fault of his own. As he struggled to understand why all of this was happening to him, it became clear that he was not meant to know. It would then, and only then, that his faith in God would grow and his praise would be taken to the next level. Somebody say next level. We see here that Job, man of integrity, man that was walking right before the presence of God, man that had the character and the heart of God, who did nothing to cause all of this to come upon him, suffered so many things. He went through losing his family. He went through losing his loved ones. He went through losing his friends. He went through losing his house, everything that he had. He even broke out in sores. But yet, he still would not curse the Lord. Through our suffering, some of us have suffered through things. We've suffered through the loss of loved ones. We suffered through being molested. We suffered through being hurt. We suffered through losing our jobs. We suffered through losing our house. We suffered through being broke. But how many times have we lost faith in God because of something that God allowed the enemy to do only to take you to the next level? Through no fault of his own, Job lost everything. And he had, all he had was the pain of not knowing what God was doing. He had the pain of not being able to understand and trace the hand of God in the midst of his situation. We must understand that suffering it's not always, but it can be a penalty for sin, in the same way that prosperity is always not a reward for good. How many of y'all know the devil can bless you too? Okay, just making sure we got that clear. Although we may not be able to understand the pain that we experience, it can lead us to rediscover God all over again. Sometimes the things that you go through in your life are not to hurt you, they're to make you better and to make you rediscover God all over again. Sometimes the hurt that we experience in our life is only made to get us back to the place that we used to be. As in the illustration, the person of the past was trying to worship, but yet she kept hearing somebody else talking in her ear. How many times have you been trying to worship and you hear the devil talking in your ear and it takes you off of the presence of God? And then we have person number 2 who was trying to worship, but then in the midst of her breakthrough, because she thought she had it all together, the enemy touched something in her life and made her turn her back on God and get angry. How many times have you been in the presence of God and everything is going well, and God says, "I want to take you to the school of faith," and he touches everything you have? Will you curse him? Do you curse him? Do you turn your back on him? Does it stop you from worshiping? Does it stop you from coming to Bible class and Sunday school? Does it stop you from lifting your hands in worship? Does it make you get out the choir? Does it make you stop teaching? Does it make you stop preaching? How many times is it that the enemy comes in and touch everything you have and make you turn your back on God? Satan's main motive was to place a wedge between Job and God by getting Job to believe that God was not just in who he was. That brings up many points. Number 1, you have to understand what is a wedge. A wedge is something that holds a gap open. It holds a gap open. Come here, Minister Chris, for a minute. If me and him tight, this my boy, this my dog. But the enemy wants to come in. He know he can't come through me and him, so he'll send somebody else to say something about him, supposedly that I said, and it'll create a wedge. It'll create animosity, which every time we try to come to each other, we bounce back because of the hurt. Every time we try to embrace each other, we bounce back because of the pain. Every time we come to hug each other, we can't because of the wedge that's between us. A wedge. Thank you. A wedge is used to keep something separate. And then he tried to use a wedge between Job and God to make Job believe that God was not just. Somebody say the battle is in your mind. Because the devil cannot tell you anything about the character of God because he lost that position to even know the character of God. So the first thing that you have to be confident in who you are and who God is. How is that birthed? That's birthed through relationship. It's birthed through worship. I can't call you my woman if I don't ever call you. I can't say we married if I don't ever come home. I can't say I go to school if I never get a report card. So how can somebody tell you something about your teacher when you never go to class? Your teacher is sitting at the desk, wanted to tell you about the grade that you got, but because you never come to class, you never know that that teacher really cares about you. Young people, let me bring it home. You got that math teacher that you think is so mean, so hard on you, just like Bishop was hard on me. I'm going to bring it even more home. Bishop was hard on me, yelled at me. Every time I thought I was doing something right, I got called into the office. Every time I thought he was cool with me, I'm like, hey, daddy, hey, what's up, man? We got to talk. What? And I thought that he was out to get me. But it wasn't until I called and we sat down and talked, and he said, you know, the reason I'm hard on you is because I see what everybody else doesn't see. The reason I'm hard on you is because I see something in you that I need to pull out. The reason I'm hard on you is because I need to birth something in you in order for you to receive the impartation that I have for you. So, in essence, what happened was God had to let Job go through this in order to birth him into another level of destiny. If you don't believe me, finish reading the rest of the story. It says he got double for his trouble. So how many times has God been trying to bring you into the classroom to tell you, I'm not here to rebuke you, I'm just trying to show you that I love you and I see you going this way, but you need to move over a little bit to the left, because if you move over to the left, you won't fall in that hole. But because we don't know the character or the voice of God, the enemy has put a hedge, which means that every time we try to lift up our hands and touch God, we bounce back. We slip. We fall. So, let's deal with the problem. Somebody say deal with it. Where my people who got a remote? In everything, you know, TV is an amazing thing. Comcast has DVR. I am not promoting Comcast, Cheryl. Dish Network has DVR. There's something called TiVo, and with the remote, you're able to rewind live TV. You're able to pause it. You're able to stop it. And if you don't want to watch it, all you got to do is change the channel. Same thing with the VCR. You pop in a tape. If it's not what you want to see, you can rewind it to the part you like. You can fast forward it to the part you like. You can pause it until you come back. You can stop it. And if it's totally getting on your nerve, you can eject it and throw away the tape. Same thing with the devil. When he come in and try to come up in your face with some stuff, you can turn around and say, pause. I can't deal with that right now. Pause. Now let me show you. Let me show you. The remote, it's a wonderful thing. It has rewind on here. Who knows that the enemy can't think of new things, so he just thinks of new ways to do the same thing over again. So if you really want to know what you're going through right now, how the outcome's going to be, rewind back to the last time you went through it. So when you get back to that point and the enemy comes in, you like, pause. I know what you did.